Boo-doo-doo. Oh, what's going on, everybody? It's Anthony from #BetheChange. Truth will set you free, blunt force discussion. But right here, guess what we've got? We've got an episode of Truth will set you free, episode 159er. We've got a lot of topics to talk about. I'm going to really quick run through them right now. Then we're going to introduce our guest, who is she's the lower 48ing me right now.
If they only knew.
If they only knew we talked about before the show. We have a lot to talk about. I know we're running about 10 minutes late. We wanted to make sure we knew everything we were covering, which I still didn't get to. K-Sock's going to be, she'll be fine. She can roll with it.
Yeah.
We are going to obviously talk about the GOP debate. I think we're going to lead in with that. The violent beatdown of a white kid by 15 black youths. I don't like bringing race into it, but if you're going to counter a narrative, you better bring race into it. Let's see. We're going to talk about how to be a Christian, how to celebrate Christianity. There's something with a Grammy nominee, Bobbi Storm, on her flight. There's a viral clip that we're going to discuss if that was the right way to go about things. I might talk a little bit about tipping culture. I think that's something else. And of course, Megan rapping, oh, injures her Achilles, blames God, or that there is no God.
Yeah.
We got a lot. We might even talk about the standing ovation for the hockey murder. I don't know. There's a lot going on. Case, everybody share this episode, like this episode, do all the things, hearts, start commenting. We'll start looking at the comments. But in the meantime, Kristen Sokoloff, introduce yourself.
Yes. Hello. Happy to be back. It's been a while. I have K-Sock Uncensored as a show on Ram TV right now. And I also have a podcast, The Dirty Side of Leadership, found anywhere you get your podcasts. We are a leadership podcast, but we are very opinionated, not woke, and very forthcoming. So it's definitely not your grandma's podcast.
What kind of podcast would you? I mean, I don't think grandmas are very woke either. I feel like grandmas would kind of dig it. They'd be like, this broad understands.
Maybe it is your grandma's podcast, but it's definitely, I tell people I have a business leadership podcast. They glaze over and I'm like, no, we go there. We really get dirty with our topics.
Well, it's like Patrick Bet-David. I mean, it's a leadership, it's a podcast, but he gets very, very deep into unwoke culture, unpussified culture, a lot of different things.
Exactly. So do we. We just said, who's a better leader, men or women? And we went there. And I think men are better leaders, quite frankly, as a whole. But that's not what's expected these days.
No.
And it hurts feelings. And we're not afraid to do that.
Are you telling me that you don't think Kamala Harris could run the country because she has a vagina?
Oh, man. No, definitely not.
She knows how to use that thing. That's how she got her job.
She does.
Hey, Montel Williams up in that business. So, Casey, have you heard, because one of the new Crowder impersonations is Patrick Bet-David. Have you heard him do Patrick Bet-David yet?
No.
Oh, it's so good. Kristen, do you watch Crowder at all?
No, I really don't.
So I know the whole thing and people on the show, they've commented like, he's terrible. He's the most talented political commentary host that there is, in my opinion. You could dislike him for his off the field antics, I guess you could say, but his impersonations are stone cold solid. He does a Patrick Bet-David now where he talked like this. And I mean, he just crushes it. It's so good. It's so good.
Oh my goodness. I'll have to check it out.
So where people can find you, obviously your Instagram handle is on the bottom there at ksock.lower48. Not to be confused.
If you're into Facebook, it's KSock Uncensored. YouTube is KSock Uncensored. You can find me just about anywhere.
Yeah. Casey, what's going on in your world?
Not much, man. Just trying to bring people back into line and focus on America. But it's really difficult. It's really difficult. When you have war.
Are we back on? Are we on Rumble right now? Did we get the Rumble?
We are on Rumble right now. Yes, sir.
Got it. Yeah, Casey's got a little beef right now with him and I are on the same page. We're both pro-Israel, but he's got a beef at the level of I don't know if he's pro-Israel, but he's not pro-Palestine, but he is. No. He doesn't like how high up on the totem pole we are putting it, including me.
Well, why not fund wars in other countries outside of ours before we even get our funding put together?
Right.
Why not?
I 100% agree. Cannot agree more. Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and start the show. We'll do some of our ad stuff in the middle. So let's kick the tires, light the fires. Let's get the party started. Where the hell is there it is. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 159 of Truth Will Set You Free. Special guest tonight, Kristen Sokoloff. Some big topics, a lot of topics we're going to go through. GOP debate, I know it was almost a week ago, but we've got to talk about it. We're going to talk about the violent beatdown and murder of a white kid in Las Vegas at the hands of 15 black, quote-unquote, youths. Why the media refuses to use racial descriptions. Weird. I'll talk about the weird display of a Christian singer and Grammy nominee Bobbi Storm on her flight. Is that really the way you spread Christianity? Maybe talk about tipping and also Megan Rapinoe. Yep, I said Rapinoe. We're going to talk about the last game of her poor career. Like this video, share this video, do all the things. Let's kick right into it, ladies and gents. And let's talk about the GOP debate. I actually watched it a couple days late. I watched it on a drive. I was impressed at a lot of different levels from the debate. I will defer first to Kristen. What did you think of GOP debate number Trace?
Yeah, I just watched highlights, I'll be honest. I'm one of those, I want to wait until the end, until we're really down to the nitty-gritty before I get too invested. So I would say I was impressed. I did like Vivek. Am I saying it properly?
Vivek, how do you say it, Casey? Like cake?
Vivek, like cake.
Vivek.
That's how he introduced himself on Tim Pool, and I'm just
okay.
That's just
Perfect. I like little things like that. It'll stick with me. If I was impressed with someone, that's who it was. But it's hard for me to get fully into it when I know Trump is still pulling number one.
Of course. So, Casey, go ahead, and then we'll kind of go back through some of the details of it.
I think that was one of the best debates we have ever seen.
I see. Casey we haven't even talked yet, and I agree. I was impressed. Go ahead, Casey.
That is the way debates should be, and there should have been 5 people throwing bombs like that on that stage, but we only had 1. And overall, Vivek just was cleaning house. He brought out every little skeleton out of the closet of the people on the stage. You had Tim Scott even drop out because of it, because he couldn't hold a candle to him. Overall, I think Vivek set himself up very nicely, that you don't have Trump attacking him. Trump is probably eyeballing him and being like, you know what, that's my VP right there. Like that's how I'm seeing it right now.
Some people have actually said now that Tim Scott dropped out early, and the fact that Trump has not attacked Tim Scott once, that Tim Scott might be suited for the VP pick. I mean, he checks all of the virtue signaling boxes, which, Trump needs those 2-3%. Vivek, although his skin is not white, I don't know if he fits. I don't know if he fits that mold. I don't know.
He gives those people the independence, that comfort that, hey, we're going in a positive direction. Tim Scott doesn't do that.
My only issue with Vivek's performance was, and I texted you about it because I was texting you as I was replaying it, is I actually thought the best answer to the abortion question was Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley and Chris Christie surprised me as much as I revile them in so many different ways. They surprised me. Like you said, it was a decent debate across the board. Vivek did clean their clocks. Vivek's weakest answer, though, was on abortion. The day after we had a upset across the country in the midterms, we saw a clear need for there to be a compromise in abortion if we want to win the big and general elections. And I think that was the one area that he did not properly explain himself, where Nikki Haley was very clear. I am pro-life, everything about life, everything. But then she goes, we cannot continue to judge people if we want to understand how to get our country back, and et cetera. She answered that question the best. She led, Tim Scott followed. And DeSantis was a little middle ground on that one, the way he answered it. That was the only time Vivek stumbled over his words, didn't quite know what to say, and was imperfect. The rest of it, as you guys said, absolutely crushed it.
Yeah.
With that said, Kristen, and I know, I mean, I believe all of us here are pro-life in our own lives. What's your belief system on what's your belief system on how the Republicans need to start looking at the abortion topic leading into 2024?
Yeah, it's very controversial because for me, for years, I've said it's not a hill that I would die on. And I know that that sounds really bad, but
It doesn't.
there are so many things happening right now that we need to be focusing on, and that seems to be the most divisive within the party. And so for me, I would be really focusing my energy elsewhere.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I said. I mean, you could be, I mean, in order to win your primaries, you have to admit and say that you're pro-life, but it should not be the first thing on your damn commercials, the
Yeah.
first thing on your damn websites. If you want to win a general election, now that we have seen states like Kansas, states like Ohio, Virginia, which wasn't exactly a ballot item, but it really was. It was a referendum. Which, by the way, if I heard, I can't believe nobody has mixed that clip up of DeSantis saying referenda. Did you catch that? He said referenda
No.
6 times in 12 seconds. He's like, the referenda. And then if you look at the referenda and I'm like, first off, it sounds better to say referendum. And he said it 6 times in under 30 seconds. It was
Ooh.
weird. That was one of his like, really, Ron? But no, I think that if we don't have a reckoning looking to see what happens, and I've said this since the midterms and even before then with polling numbers, Casey knows this. I'm like, if we continue to make this our biggest item, which we do for some dumb reason, we will lose. And I mean, I had Kendall in Kentucky on Blunt Force Discussion. It is up on YouTube on both the channels. Go watch it. It was a great show. And who is incredibly pro-life, believes that there needs to be pro-life legislation, even federally. And I don't disagree to a point, but if you don't make a compromise and a fair compromise to describe your position, then we're going to end up with late-term abortions because they feel like that's the answer to the other extreme, which is heartbeat
Right.
or at conception. We need, if you want to save more babies, you need to do things the rational way, because some of these states are going to keep these continued crazy things. When all of the Republican states that are voting and putting it on the ballot are winning, for Ohio got 22 to 24 weeks. That is absolutely disgusting to me. And the last thing I'll say is, and again, that's because of the other extreme. The last thing that I'll say is the conversation that I had with her, where we're all Christian here. And I said, here's the problem. It's rooted in a belief system, and that's fine. And that's great. And that's virtuous. But when it comes to, there is a difference between the Constitution and the Bible. And unfortunately, we have freedom of religion. Not unfortunately, fortunately, we have freedom of religion in this country in many ways. And when you have freedom of religion in a topic like abortion, it is a morality issue, and it is based also a lot in Christian beliefs, because science can say viability. Science can say once it comes out of the womb. Science can say conception. It's too much of a sliding scale. So I don't believe it's constitutional. And I think the one thing that scientifically could be a little bit more of a consensus is at viability, which still to me is too late. But you got to figure out a better way to have the conversation. Otherwise, we're going to lose our country because we're fighting over one topic.
Right. Can't do that.
No.
And the big thing with abortion that you guys didn't mention is the Supreme Court has already said it's not constitutional and it needs to go back to the states. Yep. It is not a topic for a presidential debate.
Bingo.
That is not where it should be done. And that is where I don't care how Vivek answered it, because it doesn't matter.
But he answered it the most way with the most federal control, which I found very weird. He was the one that was pushing more on this. He kept it a little too vague for me, because it's very clear that he pushes for more federal. That's the one area that he kind of has a federal hold on. And I don't know if that's maybe to win over conservative voters that are like, I don't know if I want to vote for this Brown guy. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. What else in the debate that also went? I mean, I actually could not believe how light, if Chris Christie would have always been like that. I'm like, I don't give a crap that his cholesterol is well over the legal limit. That son of a bitch actually answered some questions relatively well. I was impressed.
When it comes to Chris Christie, he shows up when he wants, and then he flops on others. He's your typical politician.
Oh, he
He
should
did
be
that. What?
done.
He was over New Jersey, governor of New Jersey.
Yeah.
Like, look at, there was a whole debacle over the bridge. He couldn't really iron out. Like, he is not a leader that needs to be
terrible.
done.
He's absolutely terrible. But I'm just
I
saying,
don't even know how people support him.
I don't know how he got 4% to get in. And Tim Scott, I know, is at the bottom of the barrel too. There was one part that was nuanced that I can't remember. Who was next to Tim Scott? Was it DeSantis or was it Vivek? Vivek was answering something. And the problem with like Ben Carson's issue, and I know I'm talking about two black guys. I'm an asshole. But Ben Carson's issue was that he was so sleepy. Tim Scott, they call him kind of sleepy as well. I don't think he is. He's just confused looking. There was a scene where Vivek's talking, blah, blah, doing his Vivek thing where he's like, absolutely perfect IQ and all this crap. And you look and it's a cutout to everybody. And Tim Scott he looks like my dog waiting for a treat. He was like, he was staring right at Vivek, and like the way his active listening skills were so bad. It was I'm like, is he drooling? Like, his like jaw was out, his head was up, and you could tell he was just like listening, almost enamored by Vivek's ability to articulate himself.
You know what's interesting? So I just moderated Dr. Ben Carson's event here in Portland, and I had some one-on-one time with him. And he does close his eyes when he's concentrating deeply. And I remember thinking, oh, this is what Trump was talking about, right? Because when he would make fun of him, call him sleepy, but he really does. But someone with that IQ, that level of genius, I'm like, he is thinking. That's his deep concentration.
Well, he is brilliant.
He is absolutely brilliant. Yeah. And and he did it on stage when it wasn't his turn for me. I wasn't asking just him questions. I asked other panel members, but while they were answering, he had his eyes closed as well. But then as soon as it was time for him to be on, he was on. But that was really interesting to witness, just, a few feet away.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love Ben Carson. And honestly, I like Tim Scott too. He's likable, but it's the same issue. Like, yes, you could be a brilliant person. You could be also a good senator. You could be all these different things. But as a true leader, like, I don't see Tim Scott as a governor. Like, he is not that leadership position, because there's just this level of like, you need the one thing you do need. Yes, I wish we had more intelligence at the top, but you need some kind of chutzpah. You need some leadership ability. And they just don't have that charisma, that je ne sais quoi.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Or 3-inch heel.
Or 3-inch heel.
What is up with that though? He's walking like a horse. It's like, just own your height, man. It looks so much worse.
I can't stand it, and I'm short, and so when I look at that, I'm like, "Come on, dude!"
Wait,
like, really?
Tim Scott wears heels?
No, DeSantis.
How about Nikki Haley?
DeSantis and Nikki Haley. That was the dig from.
Well, I remember that
on the stage.
Yeah, well, I remember the dig. Yeah. I didn't know. I thought a guy was wearing heels, which.
Yeah, that's DeSantis.
DeSantis wears big heel,
like insert.
You haven't seen his boots, his loafers? Oh, yeah. Really?
He's walking like a horse because of it.
I'm pulling this up.
Yeah, you have to pull.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, come on, man. He just needs to just own it. It's not cool.
And if you look at it, I gotta go back and find it, but I'll find it. If you go and look up like his wife's height, in some places it says she's like 5'6", and then in some places she's 5'9". And that's because if you look at the pictures of them two, you try to figure that out on what's a lie.
So they have to say she's taller.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll find this picture. Hang on.
Gotcha. By the way,
it's ridiculous.
So while you're looking for it, so I'm wearing the Awake Not Woke hat, and we'll really quick. I'll put so I got the Awake Not Woke store on the bottom. So I wore this the day one of I was at Tony Robbins this last week. Very popular group with the Awake Not Woke. So I'm still shocked. They kept wanting to buy the hat. Nobody bought the hat from the damn event. But anyways, if you want the hats or you want the gear, go to awakenotwokestore.com. Use Awake for 15% off. I've got that. I'm wearing the Trust God, not the plan. Casey's Got Awake, Not Woke, and Truth Will Set You Free shirt. Truth Will Set You Free also, by the way, very popular phrase at Tony Robbins. He definitely uses that for all aspects of life. I forgot to go back to this question. A few days ago, I sent a clip of Vivek asking what I thought of it. D, describe it. I'm not going to lie. I know I saw there was some messages from you. There's a lot, and I've seen most on Vivek. Tell me, just describe it in short, and I'll tell you if I've seen it or not. All right. Do we want to actually, K-Sock, I know you did a lot of the clips. Was there any clips that stood out to you?
Oh, honestly, I keep hearing people speak very positively. This is what's wild. The people that are independent in my base, kind of just where they go with whoever they like. They're not Republican, they're not Democrat. So they seem to really like Nikki and saying she's the only option if we actually want to win again. And I'm so confused by that. And I don't know if either of you would be able to glean anything from that on where someone could even come to that conclusion or that thought. But
What do they
have been hearing. Well, they're saying that we should be working more across the aisles, across both aisles, right? And that she's the only one willing to do that. And so, I'm confused on, we're so divided as a party. And even the soft Republicans, they're leaning towards this person that really just doesn't stand for what the majority of us believe. So I was really trying to pay attention to see what it was about her that's making people feel this way, and I got nothing.
Abortion question, the way that she answered it, as I said, that was the one where they could be like, all right, she's willing to reach across the aisle and compromise. If they're not overly active into politics and understanding what's going on in the world, and they're a moderate, they understand that people hate Trump. And then when it comes to Nikki Haley, her stance on Ukraine is very bipartisan. It's horrible. It's terrible. Yeah. It's a warmonger. It's somebody that profits off of anything militarily, including the deaths of your sons and daughters. And her husband, if he was still, I don't know if he's active, I think he's retired. She profits off of it. That's the problem. So she answers the way I think the middle of America, including the left, think that we need to save Ukraine. And you just did a video on your page, I think, making a joke of what's his face, cargo
Zelensky
comedian in cargo pants. Yeah, you made the whole thing about him asking for different. Like, if you could give us credit, you could do that. Like,
some of my base thought it was AI. They didn't even think that was a real video. I'm like, no, that was legit. It's like, real. No, you don't have money. Give us credit. We pay you back.
and Chris Christie's answer to the war questions, like, we're about to be into another Holocaust if we don't give Ukraine. I'm like, Vivek by far has the best answers to that. But the thing is, Nikki Haley, she's a woman.
Yeah.
So you think people think she could play that way? She answered the abortion question well. She is very well spoken, and she plays the game that she's in bed with the establishment when it comes to Ukraine. So I think that's probably where they're getting it from. There's a lot of elements, the virtue elements. Yeah. But she is definitely a wolf in sheep's clothing with heels on. So
yeah, I agree. And someone commented that we don't need a woman president. And I would agree right now, especially because we are a major target internationally, and we need all the strength that we can get. And let's just, like, the Middle East, they don't respect women, right? I mean, not every single one of them, but as a whole, we have a lot of nations and just groups of people that just don't respect women. So why at this time in the world, why would we even go in that direction? It doesn't make sense. We would
who doesn't respect women, Kristen?
The left,
Hamas and Palestine. But let's keep celebrating them. Casey knows I'm going to have to bring it up at least once in the show. I'm not going to bring it up now. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. I'm trying to find this video.
I'll change the topic just because it's not worth the time. So look at his boots and tell me if that's how you wear your boots, Russo.
Let me see. Well, they're combat. Wow, those are like a cross between Hitler combat boots and cowboy boots. I don't know what's happening there. That's not a full heel. That's not.
That
Yeah, no. That's a little extreme.
This is exaggerated, I think, a little bit on the
You
right.
think?
But the thing is there's no way his foot's going all the way through that to the end of that boot. No way. Like this, he has like inserts in there that's making him taller.
And the way he was walking was very like he had to lift his feet up like horse trot. Yeah, it was interesting.
And how he didn't want to, he's been called out multiple times for this over the last month, and he has not denied it, has not even acknowledged it once.
I'd like to know what advisor told him he needed to start wearing heels because he's done so much. It's like you should be really, I don't know. You should just be proud of yourself for everything you've achieved, right? And just be yourself and
be a leader and be confident in what you did in Florida. That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
You don't have to be somebody else.
Confidence gives you 6 inches of height.
Yeah, but careful there, K-Sock, getting a little lower 48 on everybody.
Of height. Let me just.
Height. Yeah, apparently if a woman has confidence, she gets 6 inches as well.
I guess. Yeah.
All right. That just spun off the rails. So D, I just really quick looked at it. I've seen the video. They're using it's vague. I know he said the one thing about Obama. This one is a bunch of different statements on the campaign road.
Just stop, guys. Just stop. What is wrong with Vivek taking from the most well-spoken president we have had in the last 2-3 decades and mimicking what he did to really captivate an audience? There's nothing wrong with it. Just because Obama was hated doesn't mean Vivek is a bad person for doing that. It's a good tactic. If you are going to do that, then you're never going to elect a good president.
I don't fully agree, but I definitely don't think it's that big of a deal there because the statements are they're not exact. It's just all I can say is it's a little weird to me. What's weird to me though is that we're considering people that have an IQ far too low to be president, that cannot even battle on stage, that would rather give money to Ukraine, that have no idea where they're standing on foreign policy, and they have no idea how to lead their own areas. So I would still take a Vivek over all of that. But again, I think we're also seeing why Trump is going to be the pick out of the Republican side.
We know who that is. This is running for VP pretty much is what's happening, or a cabinet position. And I hope everybody else on that stage doesn't get one because I don't want anybody involved.
Yeah.
So, Kristen, I'm curious, what is your thoughts on Vivek in that sense? Do you think that is a problem that he, for example, the first debate, he stole Obama's trade line that got him a lot of attention in his election run in 2008. Do you think that's a problem?
I am in the middle on that, but I personally like someone who's very genuine in their thoughts and in their speech writing. And it's not a great look, but I don't think it's a deal breaker.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's where I stand. I'm good with that. So I wasn't going to make this a whole show topic because it's not worth it, but shit, this is funny. I'm going to play this. So so if you saw, San Francisco got cleaned up. Did you see this clip, Casey?
Yes.
Oh God, it's so good. So San Francisco got cleaned up by Kristen's response. I could tell she's seen this.
Yeah.
They completely cleaned up the city because there's this massive foreign event coming in that includes the head of the Chinese party. Xi Jinping is going to be there. A bunch of China, the bunch of the CCP, as well as business leaders from all over the world are going to be here. So they completely cleaned up San Francisco. They spent a bunch of tax dollars cleaning it up just for them instead of for the actual people paying the taxes. So this is the best statement you will hear today.
Say, oh, they're just cleaning up this place because all those fancy leaders are coming.
Volume's low.
That's true because it's true.
Look at his people behind him laughing. They just think it's so funny.
Say, oh, they're just cleaning up this place because all those fancy leaders are coming into town. That's true because it's true.
you can't be more of a douchebag.
Yeah.
Like, you can't. Could you hear it better the second time, Casey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the left is just starting to lie to your face and just be like, here you go. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Literally, that is what they're doing.
Can you think about the fact that there was all these business owners in San Francisco that have been having trouble with homeless encampments in front of their business, being put out of business, guys getting arrested because they spray homeless people that are trying to attack their business, and they're saying that they're the bad guy. And now this he goes, because we are for them. And it's not like it's even like this this conference with Italians and English or whatever. It's literally China is coming to your city, and that's when you need to clean it up. He is a human. It's not him. The whole government in California is absolutely garbage. This almost, Kristen, do you think that this officially makes California worse than your home state?
Oh, yeah. And actually, I would put Washington right up there with maybe even worse than California at this point. But yes, absolutely. This guy, he just looks evil to me. And to your point, he just acts like he's invincible, probably because they do things at the polls that really guarantee, right, their positions, and they know it, and they're just rubbing it in our faces, to your point.
I agree. And at this point, like, when you look at the Newsoms, and we've said this before, like Maxine Waters, Gavin Newsom, Lindsey Graham's, these establishment people, they're so disliked. You have to wonder how they still win their elections.
Yeah.
The most disliked politicians are the ones that are the have been there the longest, but they keep winning for some odd reason, which therefore, if you bring up the concept of term limits, it's an important thing, because there's a reason why the long-standing establishments can't get beaten. And I don't think it involves just campaign finance. I think it goes a little bit beyond that.
I'd say so.
Let's be clear. All right, let's go to somebody said this clip should be used if he decides to run. I mean,
yeah,
they can find, they're like Teflon. They find a way to get away with anything with it. It doesn't really matter. Okay.
Do they find a way, or do Americans not hold them accountable?
Say it again.
Do they find a way to get away with it, or do Americans not hold them accountable?
No, I think it's all. Americans don't hold them accountable. They find a way to get away with it, and the media finds a way to gloss over it. They'll find a way to be like, people like us or independent media or bigger independent media, the Blaze will bring it up and be like, so hateful that all of a sudden they can't have a sense of humor when he was clearly making an off-the-cuff joke. They'll find a way to spin it to something not serious. Whereas Trump's like, oh, I dropped my pen. You said penis. You said penis. I heard that. You're a terrible person. I said pen.
Oh my gosh.
Oh God. Okay, so this is this is where I'm gonna get probably a little heated. So for those of you that did not see, there was a 17-year-old white high school student that was protecting his buddy. It's alleged, but it sounds as close to confirmed as possible that his 15-year-old buddy or acquaintance got robbed by 15 black high school students, the Utes, and he was kicked and punched and curbed. If you don't know what curbing is, that's when your head is on the sidewalk. And he was beat to death. Well, he was beat into a coma, I believe, and also severe injuries, to which he succumbed to about a week later and passed away. It was from a Las Vegas high school. This is Rancho High School. This is relatively near where I grew up before I moved to St. Louis. And somebody reached out to me that said it was one of the people that follow. It was her sister's son's friend or something along those lines. Her sister's friend's son that passed away. The thing is this: it's sad, it's tragic, it's unfortunate. The thing that to me boggles my mind is, and I went through and I screenshotted. I should find all of these. I found them yesterday. I Googled myself all the different news on this, and I found, where'd I find it? That none of it gave a race. And the
Wow.
question becomes, how are you not going to give a race on something when this is obvious if it was the other way around, which I don't
Yeah.
think there's been 15 white kids beat up a black kid in decades. I mean, did it used to happen? Absolutely. And it was outrageous. And that was the world that we have tried to change, and we've done a good job changing, but the pendulum has swung so far in the opposite direction that all of the news, all the way from including Fox News, and I don't know where the screenshots went, but I had Fox News, I had the local news, Las Vegas Journal, not a single publication. Not only did they not have it in the headline, it wasn't even in the article. 15 young men, they got into a fight. They kept saying fight, altercation. There was no altercation. It was a beatdown. So this should be one of those ones you put in front of the wokety woke and you set them right there and you say, look at this. This is why we believe that BLM needs to exist. It's because we don't talk about the fact that there is far more crime, far more violent crime that comes from the black community than does the white community. That's statistics. That's facts. They did a subsect. I don't know if you heard this. They did a subsect where we don't have those federal numbers anymore. The FBI stopped collecting this statistic. San Francisco, they actually did this, and it was 80 something percent was black on another race, mostly Asian, by the way. But the actual hate crimes were committed mostly over 80% by black people. This isn't me saying be racist. I'm not saying that at all. But until you clean up the culture, and this last thing I'll say, and then I'll open it up. This is such a strategic plan. If you want to get into the global elite side of this, to essentially paint a picture on black people by allowing this crime to the point where we are allowing a culture of a whole race to literally get away with murder without repercussions. This is how you divide people, because you create a bunch of idiots that are willing to just be like, oh, black people are on a risk, where statistically right now they are. Until the culture gets cleaned up, until there's accountability, I'm not saying to be racist. I'm saying to be leery of what is really going on in the streets. And it might sound racist, but it's simply a fact based on statistics. And when you can't even talk about the fact that these 15 black kids beat up a white kid, but if a white kid just so happens to trip over a black guy and kill them, and it's a complete accident, or a police officer just so happens to be white and kills a black person, that it's all of a sudden this racial outrage. Things are going to continue. It's going to get uglier and uglier. And that is what is leading us down this incredibly divided road. And that's where the elites play this game, because they are in charge of the media. Kristen, go ahead.
Yeah, no, and it really made me think about, I don't know if you saw Charlie Kirk's post yesterday. It was a children's birthday party, and it is their, family of black folks, and I'm sure some of their friends. And it has a 2-year-old, and my husband's a police officer, so he's like, I know what guns those are. That's actually our same gun as I have on duty. They're Glocks. And there's 2-year-old kids, and probably the other was like 4 years old, and parents and friends all around, adults all around, and they're holding the guns. They're doing what they've seen. So they're holding these guns. There's stacks of cash, and they're like throwing it up. And I think about Ben Shapiro when he was up on stage being interviewed. And this is a very famous interview where he says, this is a culture problem. And, the two folks interviewing him threw their hands up and basically stopped listening. But that is what we're seeing. And those kids are only doing what they see their parents and all the other adults around them do. So unless that is stopped, it's going to continue. And we are allowing it as a collective, not us right here, but there is zero accountability, especially in the big cities.
Preach. And it really is. I mean, that goes with what I was just saying. Like this concept, like we are leading people into more racism. Because if you truly open your eyes right now, black culture is shit. It's garbage. It unfortunately, like I was just at the Fuel City in downtown Dallas, and like right now, if like somebody would be like, what is black culture right now? Well, there's a guy with 24-inch rims driving through, blasting music, hanging out of his car. I hate to say, I mean, that's That's unfortunately, I believe, true at this point. It's celebrated until we start seeing some kind of accountability by the people like the Mitches of the world. And if you know who Mitch is, obviously there's like Mitch and whatever, successful Black men going, that behavior is abhorrent. That behavior is ridiculous. Maybe let's talk about how I'm a banker and I have a successful job and family. And then instead, those people that are in those successful positions don't call out bad behavior. Let me tell you, if I see white trash, I'm going to call it out. But if they don't call out that behavior, and they still talk about the fact that they deserve reparations. So it's like, how is it going to change if you don't actually start to celebrate family life, good jobs, and instead just turn a blind eye to shitty, childish behavior? Casey, go ahead.
It's because of potholes, and they have bad schooling, and it's all the government's fault. They're oppressed. That's where the problem is. You can't recognize that, Russo?
You talk about calling white trash out. It's so funny. I called my husband white trash the other day because he liked Folgers coffee. So, I'm right there with you. We have to be able to, but on the serious side, we have to be able to point it out and call it what it is. There has to be accountability on every angle, everywhere we go. And that's a problem. Here in Portland too. We see it everywhere. It's a nightmare.
Well, it's like, does white on black crime happen? Of course it does.
Yeah.
But let's be clear. It's not very common. It's not. Like, it is something that is so rare compared to, like, in the percentage wise, like when we break up the percentages of violent crime, I'm not just saying like, well, white people make up a decent percent, black people, they make up way more than their percentage of the population, yada, yada, yada. You get into that. It's actually like when you look at Asian hate crimes or not hate crimes. I didn't say that. I said that earlier. Violent crimes. It's just across the board, predominantly happening with all different races. White people make up the least amount of all violent crimes per capita by far. Black people that create violent crimes on black people the most, black people. People that create violent crimes against white people the most, white people, actually. In fact, with a very close second behind it, black people. We also have a bigger population, much bigger. Asians, they're the only ones that actually commit the least on they're the ones that don't commit the most on their race. Black people, the most violent crime on Asian people. This is statistics as of, I think, 7 years ago, because they had to stop doing something that destroys their narrative. And now, because of this bullshit narrative, you've got a kid that's dead in Vegas. And I know that this is a one out. It's a very unfortunate singular death. It's an anecdote of a much bigger picture across the board. But it shows the issue to me is not the death, because I think it's sad and unfortunate, and it's incredibly sad. And it is. What's unfortunate to me, or what's telling to me, was the reporting. The fact that it was just all of a sudden race had to be wiped from the slate.
Yeah.
Completely wiped. That to me was sad. Let's talk about it.
Sprinkle it in.
Sprinkle it in. Sprinkle and race.
The ice hockey.
Oh, you want to sprinkle it in now? Yeah,
I think it's perfect timing.
Yeah, let's go ahead and sprinkle in. Yeah, because we're talking about that. Valid.
Right.
Isak, go ahead and tell the story. You lead on this one, and then I'll make the dirty
husband
joke
used
that
to
you
play
can't
hockey, so I pay attention to hockey, right?
Yeah.
And one of the least woke sports out there. But I want to just say, so recently, everyone's probably seen this, but there was a hockey game, and somebody who used to play for the NHL was playing. I believe they're in England.
They're playing in England, and the death was it Adam Johnson that died, or was it the other guy that died? Or was he the murderer?
No, I believe Johnson died.
Adam Johnson died. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So basically you see, and I've watched it in slow-mo, but you see this player on the opposing team do this move, and it looks like you wouldn't do it unless you were a figure skater about to, fly up into a move, and they kick their foot. It's like a figure skating and hockey mix. So basically a move you should never see an ice hockey player do on the ice. And he has his leg up so high, he slices Johnson's neck and cuts the artery. He bleeds out. You can see him bleeding out on the ice, and he goes to the hospital. Actually, he's pronounced dead at the hospital, I believe. But there was race involved, because it was the hockey player that did the move that killed the guy is a black guy.
I didn't know
And
black people were so good at karate, by the way. Didn't know that. Sorry, go ahead.
so it was just they didn't go there, that's for sure. And actually, was it 2 days ago? He was he got a standing ovation when he came out on the ice, the
Yeah.
person who killed Johnson. So he was arrested today, though.
He was arrested for, I believe, manslaughter. And
Wow.
I watched the clip over and over again. So he gets hit in the neck. He falls face first. He gets back up,
Mhm.
struggles to get back up, and there you could. I mean, first off, I don't know what cell phone was shooting it. If it was like a Razor flip phone, because I don't. There
I
isn't
know.
any really good footage, which is
No.
crazy. It's a professional game. I don't
Right.
know how there's not. Whatever.
It's gotta be out there, but they're not playing it.
Maybe they're not playing it, but he skates off the ice, which is blood
And
coming.
it's
You can see enough.
just
It's just red everywhere.
mm,
The move that you explained, like at first when I watched it, I thought he was trying to check the other person and then go into Adam, and then he ended up accidentally like slipping through and going past Adam Johnson. I watched it probably 27 times. It was definitely going after Adam Johnson.
right.
No doubt. I don't know if he obviously meant to kick that high. I don't know. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
anybody means to. I don't think he would have meant to do that, even if it was trying to be intentional.
Right, right.
It's crazy that happened.
But
But
he's constantly in trouble. He's constantly,
he's a thug, isn't he?
getting the
Oh,
most
I'm sorry,
penalties, right?
can't say that. He's a violent player. Well, he's an enforcer, it sounds like, in that league. So he's the enforcer.
Yeah.
That's part of hockey, but kicking is not part of hockey. I heard they're thinking about banning ice skates because, guns, and I never know, you don't.
I'm like, riddle me this. I can be gullible sometimes. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
They're not banning
Woo.
ice skates, but one of the
John
things I
Cena.
want to point out, because Kristen can't, is that this is a black hockey player, which makes up about 1% of professional hockey players are black. And now they also make up 99+% of the murders in hockey as well. So per capita, the violent crimes are just not doing well for the black hockey players as a percentage. I think that needs to be taken into account.
I just looked it up. He is only 19 years old.
Who?
Adam Johnson.
Wait, which one is Adam? The one that died? No.
Yeah. He's the one that died.
No, he's 29.
So, 29?
29. He played in the NHL.
Never mind. Math is hard. I can't do math right.
You're good. He played in the NHL.
Yeah.
They had a moment of silence. I think he played for the Penguins, maybe.
I see him in a Penguins jersey right here.
Penguins. But yeah, it's just, I mean, it's a complete fluke. It's ridiculous. I do believe that like, if you make a mistake being an enforcer and you kill somebody, I mean, what about, here's the question though. Here's an actual difficult question. There's fighting in hockey all the time. What happens if somebody, and it's allowed, you're allowed to fight. What if you pop, guy falls and somehow accidentally cracks his head and same thing happens? Do they get manslaughter?
You could. You assaulted somebody.
But it's allowed. It's part of the game. It's allowed. They allow it.
But that doesn't justify in society that you can break the law.
But
just because the sport allows it doesn't justify that.
Ooh, I don't know. That's a tough one.
I know. It's a tough one for me too. As a big
This
hockey
one's
fan.
targeted. This one's
Yeah,
very
this
clearly
was-
targeted to me.
It's
So
just
I do
something
think
you
it's
don't
different.
see. It's something that shouldn't have happened. And that was. It's
What does your husband think, K-Sock? If
Yeah,
on
so
this
he
whole
didn't
topic?
want it. It was interesting because he's it really bothered him because he had played hockey for so long. He was on the NYPD hockey team also, but it bothered him a lot, which is wild because has to be around dead bodies and stuff at work. But he watched it a number of times and he thought that they would go manslaughter. He did, but he had to watch it quite a few times before he actually saw that it seemed. He's like, he basically said, I will just say that is not a move that I've ever seen on a hockey rink.
Right.
So he wasn't going into it too deep, but he just said that something was very off.
What do you think if we were to talk about, like I just said, and your opinion or what you think his would be if somebody gets like two good cracks in a fight in hockey and the guy falls and unfortunately like just hit his head funny or maybe it fractured his skull, caused bleeding and brain bleeding, dies from a accepted fight. Do you think that
Yeah.
would be something that could get manslaughter charges?
No, and I don't think it should. I think that's the nature of the beast for that sport.
Yeah.
Just like on the football field, right? But if
Yeah.
someone was to come out there with, something that just didn't make any sense whatsoever, that's a different
I
situation.
think the difference would be if somebody's going in for a check and it's a blind check and they don't see it coming, and an elbow goes up and bang goes in and like knocks the guy in and breaks his neck or something like that. That's where it becomes a manslaughter or, well, I don't know about murder, but manslaughter situation. A fight mano a mano when they both drop their gloves, I don't think can be
Right.
them.
Yeah.
All right. So real quick, guys, the couple of things we haven't talked about, we still have more topics. We've got at least 10 minutes left of show. I've got the bottom, the Dr. Artist show, BFD at checkout for 10% off. He now has things to counter spike proteins on top of all the different stuff. Kelly's been sick all week. I've been at Tony Robbins with her in the car with other people that are sick, all the different things. I've been taking my selenium, all the different products from him. Zinc, vitamin C, etc. He's got a whole list. Doc's Viral Defense, strongly recommend. And if you did get the jibbity jab, check out the spike protein stuff. Let's see. If you want to support the show, patreon.com/BetheChange. BetheChange USA. And last but not least, before I talk about my book, you've got the water. This is not the bottle of the water, but I poured in. You guys know what it is. It is CenturyH2O.com. Use Russo10 for 10% off. It's Fun fact, Casey. First off, it's so good. My mom, who has a lot of health problems with mold toxicity, etc., she takes a lot of naps. Not like Bobbi Sausalito take naps, which takes a lot of naps. In the last week, she got the water filtration system, finally got it installed 2 weeks ago, and she did not take a single nap this week for the first time in 3 years.
Whoa, that's huge.
It's high alkaline. It is a high filtration process. It's got 2 filters. One adds magnesium and oxygen. They've done a lot of testing with the water, and it is really that good. And it just goes into your sink, and it's good for like 18 months for $300.
Wow.
And then you just replace the filters. That's how it is. That's my biggest thing. It gets rid of the plastics. I'm drinking out of aluminum bottles and all these things. Huge health issue is microplastics. Last but not least, guys, I know a few of you bought the book, The Art of Doubling Down. Go to barnesandnoble.com. Buy it there. I'm going to go ahead and put that up on the bottom. Just let me know. Send me the receipt. It's not available until April 2nd, but if you send me the receipt and I'll just send you an email on how to pay for shipping, I will send you a signed copy of this directly from Mikasa. So here it is. It's The Art of Doubling Down, all about overcoming failure. Give some of my personal anecdotes, stories, some of my motivational talks that I like to do. So again, The Art of Doubling Down. Go to barnesandnoble.com, buy it from there. And then just the instructions I'll leave on the bottom. Okay. Let's get back into our final topics. Let's go to talked about that. Let's do Megan Rapinoe. I want to make sure we cover that one. So Rapinoe. Let's get rid of Gavin Newsom in the bottom. As many people know, Megan Rapinoe is officially retired this year. It's incredibly sad. She was such a fine athlete. And just an absolute human piece of garbage. Can't
fine athlete that goes out by a non-contact injury, just walking on grass.
And see, this to me is proof that God is real. In fact, so
that's what I said. That's hilarious. Yeah,
that to me was such a fitting ending to an absolute bullshit career. Choke artist, whatever. Here, let's go ahead and play this clip. So for those of you that don't know, Megan Rapinoe, she tore her ACL. Achilles, snapped her Achilles 6 minutes in to her final game. And I mean, she's always been such a beacon of leadership to young girls. And this is her final. I'm sure she'll do plenty more interviews, but this is her final interview after her last game.
Can't hear it.
Because like 6 minutes in. I thought about it a little bit. I mean, I'm not a religious person or anything, and if there was a God, like this is proof that there isn't. It's up. So yeah, it's just up because like 6 minutes in. It's just so bad. No day.
This is yeah, that's a role model right there. That is who we consider a role model. First off, I don't mind swearing at times. Like, obviously I like to swear, but like, I'm not a role model to 8-year-old girls. Like,
Right.
and everybody's watching. This is her last game. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is the same woman that you could see her nipples sticking out at the ESPYs a couple of years ago, and people slam me for being critical. Like, let the woman be a woman. Like, really? She's not a class act. And on top of it, with everything going on in the world, Casey and Kristen, to say her having her final game where she has got to live the dream her whole entire life with a lot of talent and shitty personality, she is going to say that it's proof that God doesn't exist because she tore an ACL after a very long career, getting to travel the world playing sports. This is where I have to apologize to Nancy. And the one time I'm going to say it, this show, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I was curious who she's saying go away to at the end. It made me think she was like referring to God or something. But yeah, she's a real piece of trash. And that is something I think these celebrities know exactly what they're doing and they realize the impact that they do have on youth. And they don't care. They think it's cool that they can shape them like this. And I guess parents out there just don't care either. I just don't even know at this point.
But yeah, parents are like, look, Megan Rapp, it's your final game. How sad is that, little Sarah?
Yeah.
Like, no, it's not. She had a great career and, choked at the end of it, whatever. And didn't choke because she doesn't, but whatever. She doesn't take lower 48s in her mouth. Casey, what do you think?
Oh, it's
That'll have to come out at some point.
oh Jesus. Yeah, overall it's karma. Right.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm glad that she's gone. She was actually toxic for the team. She was the main reason why the national women's soccer team couldn't make it this year in the World Cup, like this year or last year, whatever year it was. But that whole team was toxic and a disaster, and she was not helping them at all. And they all now, with their whole big push of equal money because men get paid more, it's because they have more viewership, not because anything else. They have more viewership. Men's soccer team sucks. I agree. You should get paid more because you guys actually win championships.
Right.
They don't. But
it's national teams. National teams are not really paid. Like, they're given stipends and stuff like that. It's the professional level when you go play for a team. And unfortunately, there is no women's MLS that draws dick like they did. Well, that too, but they don't do that. But no, I'm saying they like any of the professions for the professional side, there is nothing on the female side of those sports.
Right.
and everything that she brought around the teams that she played for, including the national team, it was all toxic. It was nothing of value.
Nothing. I agree. Teresa, I'm going to answer this question for you. Is the water filtration system removable? Yes. It's just bolted in. Very simple to do. And then to this question, as of right now, yes, it's up to the halfway house. If cash is out in January 4th is the day that he is allowed to be out. Kelly is cheering in the background. If you're wondering if I can move my thing, she's actually in a towel and she's taking makeup off right now. We can increase our viewership. We can do a Truth Will Set You Free OnlyFans. No, please don't. Because YouTube probably doesn't care. Now, if you stood in front of here naked and said Trump won the 2020 election, we'd be banned. That's right.
Yeah.
Then Biden won while being naked, you'd be completely fine. Then I would probably slap you across the face. Okay. All right. Moving on. We're just about to wrap up. We started a little late. Are you wondering about dinner? Is that what's happening right now? We're only live. Mama's hungry. Okay. She is a socialist. She's a Democrat. She believes in free everything, meals when she wants it. Okay. All right. Let's finish this up before I get beaten. Right.
You would like it.
I think she thinks that because of the conversation topic that we were just bullshitting at this point, and she's like, they gotta be done with the show. She goes, all we do is bullshit. Teresa, viewers or views. Ew. God, stop it. That was actually her makeup remover. All right, moving on. Let's finish this up. I gotta cook. 2 real quick things. Can you pull that, Bob? Because again, I think a lot of this, including the abortion topic that we came up with, is how to be a good Christian and just like bring people into the fold. So Casey, can you play that this Bobbi Storm video? And it is a minute or 2 long. Can you zoom in a little on it, maybe?
I'll sit down. The seatbelt signs off.
So Christian musician Bobbi Storm gets some news to share. She won a Grammy, or she was nominated for 2 Grammys, and the flight attendant was not overly happy that she was trying to make an announcement. Which at first I was like, what's going on here? So go ahead.
I'm up for 2 Grammys. My very first time, you guys. My name is Bobbi Storm, and I'm up for 2 Grammys. I sing for the Lord, and my song is out on all platforms. It's called We Can't Forget Them. Michael McDonald cleared it. Warren G is on the original record as well. It's with Regulator. I want to share with you guys. I wanted to do it when I...
No, you don't have to stop here. I'm saying she would have been good if she would have just been like, sorry, I'm really excited. You know, I'm a Christian singer and it was for the Lord and I just got nominated for 2 Emmys. I'm really excited and I wanted to sing to you guys. That's it. Okay. Finish how the video goes and how cringy it gets.
First got on the plane, but I was like, you know, I haven't done this in a while. I've gotten to the next status, so.
Are you able to be quiet?
But they're enjoying it. So while we're sitting here, could I please?
I'm not enjoying it. So I'm asking you, can you be quiet?
Okay, well, I find that up.
That's a yes or no answer, please.
Am I going to go to jail if I don't?
Can you please answer my question? Are you willing and able to be quiet right now?
I'm doing what the Lord is telling me to do.
I'm asking you a question, yes or no. I'm your flight leader. I need you to follow my instruction.
Okay.
My instruction for you to answer my question. Are you able to be quiet?
What do you guys think?
I'm asking you, ma'am.
I'm asking you guys. What do you guys
think? If you're not able to follow my instruction, you will not be taking this flight.
Ah, okay.
Are you able to be quiet?
If that's the case, then that's fine. If you were the
So that's
person in
yes.
charge of it all.
I'm your flight leader, yes.
If you're the person in charge of it all, then that's fine.
All right. Thank you.
It gets worse.
So I'll sing it on the low for y'all in the back.
I'm going to sing it on the low for y'all in the back.
All right. So the song is called We Can't Forget Them. All right.
And I love that she plugs where to download it every time.
I don't know the issue. No one else has ever had an issue, but it's...
Well, you stood up in the middle.
Thank you for each day in my life.
She does have a good
I realize I don't need anything. I need you by my side. Shine your light. I follow. Oh,
wait for the end.
Lord, I try to pretend I can do without you, but I'll be out of my mind, doing things my way, losing faith, just living life blind. But I don't want this life no more. Oh, Lord, regulate my mind, my heart and soul. I keep forgetting I've been through this before. I keep forgetting
how awkward it would be to be
battle is not mine, it's yours. I keep forgetting we gotta learn the hard way. I keep forgetting we can't forget it.
Feels longer each time.
So just so you know, if you're on this flight, you have been, thank you so much. You gotta clap on the low. I know. Thank you so much. So look up Maverick City.
2 people clap.
Has an album out right now.
2 people clap, and she goes, "You got to clap on the low. Nobody's clapping." So then you can stop it now. So now she plugs her music again, and she's telling people where to download it and all this stuff. It's like
it's available everywhere.
records, literally on the side of this. I mean, it's so again, he wasn't over, like he wasn't super nice, but like if she would have she could have just talked to her area and then maybe started singing if she really wanted to do that. To me, not the way to be a Christian, to not listen to any demands or requests. It's just, it's weird. If she would have just started singing and not made it a sales pitch, I think it would have been more effective. What do you think about that kind of Christianity, Kristen?
Oh man, that was cringy from like 2 minutes or 2 seconds in. That to me was not somebody in it for the Lord. That was somebody in it for themselves. And so I don't question that she's a believer, but I question her entire MO. And oh, that was just so bad. And I don't even think humility is something that I really look for in somebody, and especially a leader. And she had zero humility, and just really bad all around. Christian or not, that was bad.
Bad.
Oh,
Clap on the down low. You can't clap loud. Nobody's clapping. There's 2 people clapping. They're right there.
it was
Nobody else
so
cares.
uncomfortable for everybody. And
And she even got the name drop in there too. Like,
oh,
this is regulator Warren G. Like, anyways, Casey.
so bad.
Yeah, it's pathetic. That's all it is. It's pathetic. But I also looked at her phone. Did you happen to see her phone? It looked like she was doing some sort of live on a platform.
Yes, I forgot
You see
to
a
mention that.
red
Yeah.
little bubble in the top right-hand corner of the
Yep.
screen, and I'm like, so you're doing this for attention?
She's doing it all for
Mhm.
attention, not for the Lord. Not it.
Right. Yeah, it was
Just
bad.
not. It was that to me does not, like, if there is a non-believer near her that might have been like on the fence of being like, I'm seeing like all Kat Von D's and all these people coming to God, Ryan Sheckler, Justin Bieber. Maybe I need to start. And then you see her and you're like, nope, they're pieces of shit. You're right. My bad.
Yeah, I know.
Go back to that other
Yes.
side.
So
Yeah.
bad.
Okay, I'm going to do this quick because did you ever work in the service industry, Kristen?
I did in high school.
So Casey, you have not, you did not, you were never a server, or were you?
Yeah, well, I worked at Wendy's all back in the day.
That counts. We'll count this. Okay, so I mind you, his shirt says "I love fossil fuels," which I find very funny. Based on his overall concept, which I believe is more socialist than anything else. Let me do this. This is a short one. There it is. Son of a bitch.
Tip if somebody gave exceptional service. When was the last? So I'm not tipping anymore. I'm done. I'm out. Used to be you would give a tip if somebody gave exceptional service. When was the last time you got exceptional service anywhere? And it's just expected. They bring you the bill at the end and they're like, here, just fill this out. 20%, 25%. No, you did your job. They made food. You carried it to my table. You got me a Diet Coke. Thank you. That was your job. You don't get 25% because you did your job. And I'm not the bad guy here. I'm not. If you own a restaurant, just tell me what it costs. I don't want people to go hungry. What does it cost for me to get my food? And also so that the wait staff doesn't have to join the cartel, do some Lord of the Flies, Oliver Twist. Like, I want people to be taken care of. Just tell me what it costs. So I'm not tipping.
So what are your thoughts? Let's start with Kristen. What are your thoughts on what he said?
Yeah, I'm not into it because I first thought he was going to do it like, when you go to a Starbucks or when you go to gosh, I feel like they're even asking for it at a freaking grocery store these days. But that's what I thought he was going to do it on. And I would totally agree. But he's talking about an actual restaurant, like a dining experience. And I'm
brought
sorry,
me my food. That's all
if you don't want to tip, they are taxed on a tip. So if you don't want to tip, don't go to a restaurant. That's how I feel. I don't like that video at all.
What he's suggesting is, and again, he's got the "I love fossil fuel" shirt, which typically I would assume means that he's more on the conservative side. He's also clueless. He's suggesting socialism because he said, just tell me what it costs. Tell me what I have to pay for. He will not, he's definitely never owned a restaurant. He's definitely never worked in the service industry because it is a little bit more than just serving tables. But when you own a restaurant, if you wanted to pay your servers what they get hourly with tips, when people tip 18 to 20%, you'd be finding a way to pay all your staff $25 an hour minimum.
Right.
So you got to find a way to come up with it. Your food costs would drastically. And then on top of it, you are looking at servers, which if you've been to Europe, have you ever eaten at a restaurant in Europe?
No.
When service is standard at like 5 to 10% tip max, that's just what is done. The service there is terrible because there's no incentive. So you've now
Mm.
created a socialist society in your brain. Like, that'll work better. Let's just pay them their fair wage. I'm sure they'll take care of me just the way I want to be taken care of.
Yeah.
And my food prices will be completely fine. You, sir, I like your shirt, but are an idiot. Casey?
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. It's very ignorant because a lot of these servers that work at these restaurants, people don't realize, but they get paid less than minimum wage. And the restaurants get away with that by justifying that their tips will get them above minimum wage for their salary and their pay. And so if you are not going to be tipping them, they're not going to get paid very well. And if you got that pay for your job, you'd be very disappointed too. When it comes to the service industry, it's yes, there is an incentive, and I agree with you, Russo. It's part of it. I do agree also there needs to be a dramatic overhaul with how the service industry works. I think since COVID, it just went into the shitter.
Yeah.
Well,
I
people
think
went into
all
the shitter.
service went
Yeah.
into the shitter.
Like nobody is there. I mean, the level of it's bad. We'll just say that.
Agreed. And so I understand where he's coming from, but I don't see that is going to change anything and do what he is expecting. Not at all.
Facts on facts on facts. Final words,
Yeah.
Casey. Everybody gets we'll do a little sesh to end it. Case, go for it.
Jeez. Just engage into your politics locally and don't worry about Israel and Hamas until it is on your land. Stop. We have our own issues to deal with. We have our own bills to pass. We have to get funding in other ways. I have a city here in Utah that has no water. Keep rolling your eyes, Russo. Keep rolling your eyes. But overall, this entire situation, we need to start focusing on our country and our communities and not other countries.
Well said. I still think we can also walk and chew bubble gum with the Israel thing.
Our government can't. Whether you can,
Our government can.
great,
No, I never
but
said
our
our
government
I
can't.
think human beings can still have a belief. K-Sock, final words and where everybody can find you.
Yeah, mine is similar as well. I'm a big advocate on focusing on local campaigns, running for city council, running for county council. I was a campaign manager here locally. If you don't focus on what's happening in your own backyard, you're going to get bent over a barrel in your own backyard. So when there's so much attention overseas and so much attention in Washington, D.C., you have no idea what's happening right under your nose. So change that up. Yes, you can find me, as we said earlier, on Instagram, ksock.lower48. Everywhere else, you'll find me as ksock uncensored. And look up my show, Dirty Side of Leadership Podcast, found wherever you get your podcasts, and ksock uncensored on ramtv.live.
Yeah, you're beginning the bend over with the lower 48 just banging against the back. Oh, that sounds so dirty. All right. My final words. Of course, right when it's the only time I'm going to talk at the very end. Is my service okay, Casey? Because it's giving me the typical alert when things are not okay.
You're doing all right now. I'm just waiting for you to freeze.
Hold on tight. So my final words for this episode are very simple. I know that Casey said, "Why stop paying attention to all this stuff." I agree. Our government needs to focus not on Israel.
See, I knew it. It was going to happen. See, all of a sudden, then he's going to come back with a frowny face, and he's going to be all just frumped over.
You got to close it up then.
Is it back? Is it?
You're back.
You're back.
I'm just gonna leave it on this screen just in case, so it looks like because I see the little notch. I was trying to say something very pivotal here. Trying to say something pivotal.
The worst.
If you wouldn't have wasted all the time on Israel and Hamas.
Let's see. Let's give this a shot. Real quick, Israel Hamas is the conversation because as I said to you before the episode started, this is the first time in any time that I've ever seen where you literally have a country that got attacked by terrorists that had terrorist attack on their ground, and somehow the disdain for their country got worse.
Mm-hmm.
The disdain for their people got worse. This is the first time that I've ever seen 1,400 people of a nationality, of an ethnic group, all of a sudden not have people all over the globe feeling sorry for them, but instead hundreds of thousands of people protesting in places like New York. And yes, you're free to protest in the United States of America, but it's also happening in Dallas. It's also happening in Tempe, Arizona. It's happening in California. It's happening in red states, blue states across the board. If you can't tell me that's not really odd, there's something wrong. when the narrative is found a way to target Israelis and Jews, where there is a stay-at-home order in parts of New York City for Jews right now, there's something wrong. When the anti-Semitic group was biggest when a quasi-conservative Kanye West attacked them, and all of a sudden everybody's like, whoa, we got to protect the Jews. Now 1,400 of them died overseas, and the narrative is completely changed. You have to ask yourself why. And for those conservatives that are standing on the pro-Palestinian side, it's more than just, yeah, Israel's corrupt, their government's corrupt, but Hamas is actual terrorists. And for the people on the left, you should just be ashamed of yourself. That's all I got to say about that. I'm glad
there's a protest in Utah tomorrow.
That's,
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's weird. It's just, you have to
It
admit
is.
that it's weird. Anyways, guys, God
It's
bless.
biblical.
It is biblical. There's apparently a Red Sea thing going on. I don't even know. I haven't
Yeah.
fact checked it, but I saw something on somebody's page, which therefore means it has to be true. God bless, guys. Have a fantastic evening. Have a great night. Deuces. Thank you, Kristen, for being on the show.
Thank you.